Welcome to the Furlo Capital Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into the intricacies of real estate investing. And our mission is to equip people to invest wisely in both property and people so that together we can build wealth and improve housing. I'm James, and this is my wife, Jessie.
Hi.
How you doing today?
It's good day.
All right. I love good days. Good
Yep.
days are good. So I want to kind of go back to, like, we semi-started this a long time ago, and now we're coming back to it.
Okay.
But last year, I wrote this report that was all about doing due diligence and what are the questions that you need to ask, or that you can ask, I should say, in order to properly evaluate a property.
Yeah.
And so the very first conversation we had, we looked at the sponsor themselves, which is the role that I do, and all the questions that you could potentially ask. And this entire thing's like 196 questions, and there's broken into 8 different sections. And so I want to talk about section 2, which is questions about the property manager. So again, the idea is you've got someone who's bringing you an investment, which is, again, that's what I do. And you, as a passive investor, are saying, okay, am I interested in investing in this deal? And oftentimes people just ask about, like, well, what are the overall returns? Which are really important questions to ask. But there are other things that you should dive into as well, because there are a bunch of assumptions that underlie those, like, top line numbers. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people putting the deal together or how they're running the deal is important.
It's important. Right. Yeah.
They came up with numbers somehow.
Yeah.
How did they do it? And
Right. And they've
what
got
is involved?
Yeah, and they've got a plan for doing it. And
Sure.
so the question is, like, how are you going to pull it off? So today, I want to focus on that second section, which is questions that they should be asking about the property manager. Because when you get into a larger property, oftentimes the sponsor isn't the one doing the day-to-day, and they're going to hire someone else to do it. And they're the ones who are actually going to have their boots on the ground, getting the action done, meeting with tenants, meeting with contractors, like doing the stuff. They're a really important team member when it comes to a syndication or an investment just in general.
Yep.
And even if you are not thinking about passively investing, you're going to, like, buy it yourself and then hire a property manager yourself. I think these are, like, awesome questions to ask. And I actually count. How many are there total? Can you do that math real quick?
7, 8, 9,
11. 11 questions. So that's it. It's 11 questions, but I think they're really important. There's 3 that I think are, like, super, super important. So what I want to do is have you read them and talk about them. And if you have, like, a question about it or a comment about it, which ones are you, like, particularly like, ooh, I really like this one, or you're like, why are you asking this? Those kind of things. So very similar to the previous time we did this, which, if I was really smart, I would have remembered the episode number so that I could mention it.
It's okay. You'll link to it.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Link in the description to whatever that is. Oh, gosh, I hope I remember. All right.
It's got to be one of the first couple.
Yeah, it's within the first 10.
Yeah.
I know that.
Okay. So the property manager. I have a question before we
Yeah.
go there. Could it be the sponsor
What do you mean?
who's doing all the things?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's a smaller deal or something like.
Yes. It's either, like, so if it's a bigger deal, sometimes sponsors will vertically integrate, where they'll be like, yes, we do investments, but we also do property management. We also do construction.
Okay. So it's like your
we also
company
clean carpets.
that does all the things, not necessarily the individual.
Yeah. But you could also have an individual, I suppose, who's doing it. Like, I could see, like, let's say I got a duplex in the area. You'll see if you go back and listen to the other one about the sponsor, there's some overlap here.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is like, do they have good character? Are they trustworthy? Do they have proven, like, trustworthiness and character?
Right.
Like, so that...
I would imagine, too, everything kind of builds on the sponsor. So it's like, if you've done that due diligence and asked all those sponsor questions, your confidence level goes up.
Yeah.
And so you may just trust that, okay, yes, I know you. I've gotten to know you.
I know you.
I know how you do deals.
Where's that boy? I know him.
I know him.
I was listening. You'll really appreciate this. I was listening to another podcast. This guy, he's it's a, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on his name right now. He's an academic. He talks about, like, taking breaks from digital media. Oh my gosh, I am just totally blanking on his name right now.
Tim Ferriss?
Nope. He wrote Deep Work.
Cal Newport.
Yes, thank you. Wow, I really just launched that one. Anyways, he was talking about the idea of a single purpose notebook, and one of his examples was from Buddy the Elf, or from Elf, where the guy Dinkle, the author, comes in. And he's got his book. He's like, I've got some really good ideas here that I'm really stoked about.
Yeah, not Dinkle.
That's his real name. Dude, wow. I am just like killing it on names right now.
Awesome.
Oh, well. Anyways, he referenced that scene.
Niles something.
Finch?
Yeah.
Miles Finch. Miles Finch. There you go. Wow. Anyways, he used that as an example for, here's a single purpose notebook, the idea of it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I just appreciated the semi-goofy.
That was like a rabbit trail.
Dude, that's... Welcome to my day.
Anyways, like I was saying, if you have vetted the sponsor and you know them, yes. I know him, you tend to trust some of the other things that he's put together.
Yes.
So you may or may not want to ask more about property manager, but...
Yeah, and I think you should, but definitely it's like, that's that first pass. If you can't make it past trusting the sponsor and what they're doing, who cares about all the other stuff? Yeah. Yep.
So you've made it past that. Now you have some questions about the property manager and what they're going to do. So, do you want me to start with the most popular?
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, there's only 11. So.
Okay. So, question number 1: how did the sponsor source the property manager? How did you find them?
Yeah, basically, is it your friend Joe from across the street? Sure. Or did
someone
you actually
who has
interview
the
a lot
best
of people?
Reviews on all of their social media or whatever?
Yep. Yeah. Just, it's just important to know. Did you get a recommendation from someone else?
Will the current property manager stay in place?
Yeah, so that is an interesting one because often for bigger properties, you already have a property manager in place. And so it kind of depends on the building situation and why they're selling. Like if it's not doing well and rents
not being managed well.
Yeah, right?
That's
that's really important to know
if
they're keeping that person in place or not. Sure. Now, and I think the next question actually kind of addresses what happens in that situation.
Yeah, so if they are keeping the current property manager, is the sponsor projecting a significant increase in performance from the same management company? How will the sponsor get that improved performance?
Right. So, okay, you're going to keep them on board, but how can you be certain that they're going to see a change? Mm-hmm. And really, this is about in some ways, it's about people management.
Sure. And
how you lead people. And so, for example, the place that we bought on 14th, it's a 15-bedroom co-living property, and we kept the existing manager in place. Mm-hmm. Now, she was good. We met with her, and she seemed totally fine, and she did a good job of carrying out the owner's wishes. Yeah. Now, the previous owners, they weren't absentee necessarily, but they...
More hands-off.
Yeah, more hands-off. They were like, we fully trust you to do this. And it's not that I don't trust her. It's just I tend towards the micromanage side of things. Or better yet, is I'm highly opinionated on how things should be done. Yeah. And I picked someone who was very responsive to those ideas. Mm-hmm. And so I walked in, looked at all the rents and went, yeah, these are too low. We need to raise them, period. Mm-hmm. And I looked at what was happening. For example, they were running the heat with windows open. And I was like, what are they doing? And I was paying for all the electricity. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
We're stopping that.
So we implemented a RUB system, which to me was like, hey, I guess if you guys want to run the heat and leave the windows open, sweet,
up to you.
Have at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying for that anymore.
Define RUB system.
It's a ratio utility billing system.
There you go.
So, because for example, oftentimes for water, you just get one big water bill, and you could do some math, and you can get creative or not creative. So you can either be in our case, there's 15 units, boom, divided by 15, call it good.
Yep.
Or you could do it by the number of occupants in each unit, which isn't as big of a deal for mine because they're all single people. Right. But what if you've got a family of 4 living in a 2-bedroom versus a single living in a 2-bedroom? You could also potentially, and for water, that's usually you'll do it by people because
that makes sense.
That
each
determines
person consumes a certain amount.
Yeah, by using the bathroom, taking showers, making pots of pasta. I don't know. And whereas say electricity, or gas, let's say some sort of heating thing, that one you might actually do by square feet. because it doesn't matter how many people there are. It's all about what's the space that we're heating up.
Sure.
And yeah, so there's like, again,
so you divide it out by.
So all that to say, so I talked to her and was like, hey, we're going to implement this thing. I don't want to pay for it, essentially. Yeah. And it's a big number on my particular bottom line. It was like almost like $2,000 a month for me.
Yeah, that's huge.
But for each individual, it was like, $150, 140. Yeah. All right, whatever. And so that was, it worked out really well actually for us. And, but I took an active role. I still meet with her every other week. We go over the P&L. We have an ongoing list of things that she's doing and keeping me in a loop of, and we talk about that. And so that's something that I do that changed the performance. And there were some areas.
Question
actually,
on here.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, how do you interact with how does the sponsor manage the property manager?
Is that one of the questions?
I'm
no, I think
it's
kind of it's kind of implied in number in that third one we just talked about. But you should ask those kind of questions. Like, how often do you? There's a really good book called Best in Class.
Yeah.
Don't read it. You don't need to. But I did, because it is all about how, as a sponsor, do you manage the property manager to create a best in class experience and investment.
All right. Some of these other ones are really related. So it's like, has the sponsor worked with the property management, this property manager before?
Yeah.
And then some like other things about the property manager. How many years have they been in this business? Do they have other assets that they manage?
Yeah.
Are they in the area? How's their performance?
Yeah, you're really just trying. It's essentially what you're asking is, do they have a proven track record of managing these types of units in these types of places and these types of conditions and these types of whatevers. Yeah. Like, but it's getting it's not just straight on asking that. It's trying to get around it. Yeah,
build some credibility for. Will they be capable to manage this particular?
Those kind of questions kind of remind me, like when we're doing tenant screening, we tell people we want to rent to responsible tenants, but what does responsible mean? Yeah. And so we ask a whole bunch of like very pointed, specific, objective questions, and so that's what I'm trying to get to for this here.
That makes sense. And if there's a pre-existing relationship, that kind of relates to the first one to me. Like, how did you find this person? Yeah. Did you already know them? Have you worked together before? Because if you trust them, it builds on that trust.
Right.
That, there is. But if you're just like, I have no idea who this person is, that might be like, well, why are you going to have them manage for you?
I had an interesting deal, actually. When I was looking at an investment out of the area, I got a recommendation. I got a couple of recommendations for a property manager, and from the agent who was helping with the transaction. So I called them first, and they both. It was interesting. One of them sounded awesome. He said everything that I would want him to say, but then the more I started researching him and looking at him online, there was just something weird about it. Like, he didn't have the online presence that I would expect, given what he was telling me. And I even called, like I asked for, like one of the things I did was, I was like, well, I'd like to talk to some people to get referrals to figure out what it's like, working with you. Interestingly, actually, I had two property managers where they both refused to give me any other names of any other investors who have worked with them. And I was kind of shocked by that. And I kind of got it where they were like, well, like we're, we respect their privacy. I was like, yeah, all right. But like, you don't have anyone who's willing, like, you can't even ask if someone would be willing to talk to me, like pick your favorite one and have them talk to me. So then what I did was I followed up with, well, do you have any contractors who you work with? And like, can I talk to them? What's it like to work with you there? Yeah. And this guy, he actually gave me a couple contacts, but he's just like, it was really interesting. Like, he just like, oh, well, there's this person and this person that we do this. And I'm like typing as fast as I can, trying to keep up with it, realizing I should have recorded the call so I could go back and reference it all later, but whatever. And so I called them up. They had never heard of him.
Weird.
It was super weird, right?
Yeah.
And that was what sent me down this rabbit hole of like, I started looking up his LLC online to be like, well, what is like, who's actually running? It was super weird. And it turned out his company name had expired and it hadn't been renewed for like a year. It was all sorts of funkiness. So that's just an example of the kind of like deep diving that I'll do if I don't know who the person is. Another person I talked to, she sounded great. And I actually made a mistake with that one. I pummeled her with like 60 questions. And she ultimately was like, you know what? I just don't want to like she's like, you're just too intense for me. I was like, oh, well, all right. And so I dialed back the intensity on on the third person, and he actually sounded great. I'm kind of a bum that I didn't get a chance to work with him because he was a small branch of a much larger property management company based out of Portland. Okay. And so he had all the resources of a big PM, but was also local and personal and kind of had the small town feel. Anyways.
It's kind of a good mix.
Yeah, but that was what I tried to do to learn more. By the way, when I interviewed with them, or yeah, I guess there was some of that too. They gave me a property management agreement, just a blank one, like, oh, it's just a standard one, whatever. And it had, I done my research on like what should be or should not be included in it, and some of the resources I read were like, look out for these like 5 gotchas, and they totally had all 5 of them in there. I was like, nice, okay. But to their credit, when I asked them about all 5 of them, they're like, oh yeah, we can get rid of that, no big deal. Which I was like, interesting. This was just a classic, like, if we can get away with it, we will. But yeah, it's kind of, property management's an interesting world.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It seems to me like once you find, if you're doing deals in the same area, once you find your property manager that you like, if they have, that's the next question, like, do they have the capacity to take on new units? If they do, it's like, you just use them.
Yeah.
You're not using a different manager for each property
100%.
and going through that process over and over. Like,
yeah, so like, for example, the property manager who's managing the place on 14th, the 15 bedrooms, I also gave her the storage facility to manage.
Yeah.
And like, just a couple days ago, we talked about taking over my 5-unit place in Sweet Home. Yeah. Because it turns out she manages the property right next door. It's like, all right, this is a good mix. I trust her. But when we initially had that conversation back in like October, November timeframe, but she wasn't at a place where she had the capacity to take that on. Sure. And she was also like, but I'm hiring a couple of people, going to be onboarding them. Give me some time to get that in place, and then I'll have the capacity to do it. Yeah. And so now we're having that conversation, and so she'll take it over in May.
Okay. The rest of these, I think just, it's kind of like, how does the property manager operate? Okay. How many people are on their team? What software do they use? When do they provide reports? What kind of stuff do they provide? What's the structure of their management company? So that seems to me kind of like more detailed information that you as a sponsor would want to know those things, right? So that you can build that relationship and trust with them. But me as an investor, it's interesting, but I'm more like, this is interesting to know that you asked these questions.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, I guess, and a lot of those are like, some of those initial questions maybe go, really? That's who you chose? Or do you know a lot?
Right.
Yeah, it's trying to dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Try to build that confidence into who they are. But yeah, and I totally get where, these may not make sense, depending on your level of involvement with where you're at in the property. Yeah. But yeah, or if I'm like, because honestly, what will happen a lot is they make the reports and I will forward those on to the investors. And so like, if you kind of want to like, so you'll get to know what the reports look like from that standpoint. And yeah, but I definitely ask about it too, because I'm like, I want to know. Yeah. Which a lot of them, they use AppFolio, and it's a really standard garbage reporting system. Or how do I say it? Garbage is not the right. It's too generalized. It's not pretty. It's not easy to understand. It's not user friendly.
Yeah. It's just highly functional.
Yeah. And from what I've gathered, because I've never used it, but I've talked to a couple of property managers who have. And from what I've gathered, it's like, it's that weird, it's highly, highly, highly customizable. You can pretty much do anything, but you kind of got to borderline be a rocket scientist to understand how to do it.
Yeah, that's
like,
annoying.
Everyone I've talked to says when they want to create some sort of customized report, they got to talk to somebody there and have them help them build it. Like, it kind of requires developer level skills, which is a bummer on their part.
Yeah, because that's not, I
guess they have default ones.
I could see that working for like some sort of website development software or whatever, because it's like, oh yeah, as a developer, I'm into this anyways. As a property manager, you're like, no, I don't want to, like,
this isn't what I do.
I'm going to pull the numbers, but I'm really into like managing, making the property better, talking to people.
So how about this for annoying? So current property manager, she provides PDF reports. And I asked a simple question. I was like, hey, is it possible for me to get these in Excel? Because ultimately I'm going to pull in my own thing, and it just saves me from having to do the translation. Sure. And she goes, yeah, after 2 hours on the phone with someone there, she figured out how to do it.
Oh, my word.
I'm like, that's not just a drop down
Yeah,
option
you would think like
thing?
export it as a PDF or Excel or.
Now, having said that, I use a piece of property management software that isn't nearly as like robust from what I can tell, but the stuff that it does, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if I want to report, give me a choice, PDF, Excel, it does all of it. It has all the reports. You can't create a report. Like, they have their set, like, these are the reports.
Oh, okay.
Deal with it. But I haven't found one yet where I'm like, it would be really nice to have and I don't have. Like, or I can combine a couple to create that thing because the data's there. But yeah, so that was the reason why I went with the one I did, because I was like, dude, I don't want to mess around with all that. But anyways, yeah, it's good to know.
There you go. Those are all the questions.
Okay, sweet. So there you go. That's my sweet. We had that moment of like, so now what? Yeah, awesome, cool. So overall, do you any of them that you're particularly like, yes, like I'm really interested in this one? You kind of tipped your hat a little bit to that, but I'm just kind of curious if you had one that was, you were like, dude, all the way.
Really, it's like where you start. Like, what's the relationship between the sponsor and the property manager?
Okay, all right.
Because from the investor perspective,
gotcha.
I'm kind of like,
so like, for
I'm
example,
giving the sponsor my money. I'm going to trust that you make all the decisions to make this right.
All right, so I'm curious. So on that one that was up north from here, I mean, I did a Google search, and I mean, I called like 5 or 6 places, and they were one of them. But I mean, I talked for the main guy in the branch for like an hour, and then I talked with him and his boss for like another hour. And that was when we also kind of went over the management agreement and stuff like that. Like, is that, and had we progressed, I would have met him in person, but I mean, it was good enough where I went, dude, you've like, everything checks the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking the property manager these questions,
okay, all right, okay, cool.
I'd be like, yeah, I trust you to
cool.
Work through these different things, and it seems like you're trying to get a good picture of whether or not this property manager is like responsible, trustworthy, reliable, capable of doing this job. Yeah,
that's fair. One interesting thing, again, having read Best in Class, they're like, oh, we meet with our property managers weekly. And then it's like once a month we meet in person. Yeah. And I've talked to other property managers and they're just like, no, like that's way too much. Please don't do that.
Well, to do that with every single owner?
For them.
Sponsor?
Well, just for me. Like, so for whatever, like for my person, like it would be like, hey, we're meeting weekly to talk about the properties and what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah. Part of it is like properties are they move just slow enough that weekly is like, maybe at the beginning, if you're doing a lot, sure. Because there's a lot of knowledge transfer as well. But eventually, like I found every other week to be a great cadence. Sure. And usually what we do is we've got it where like the report comes out on the 18th. And so we're meeting on whatever Tuesday comes after that. Yeah. And then we do one at the beginning part of the month as well. And that's more like, hey, let's just talk about projects that are going on. What are we at in that? That's kind of how we've divvied it up.
Makes sense.
That seems to work pretty well. I don't know, sometimes we go for an hour. A lot of times it's just 45 minutes. Half an hour is way too fast. Yeah. But yeah, that seems to be a good cadence for what we do. But, cool. Yeah. Anyways, awesome. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and we would appreciate it if you left us a quick rating wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.